Kisses Are Distracting by Chilly Kitty. Rarity's eyes focused on the soft, silky fabric in front of her, carefully pinning it into place over the mare's chest, making sure to not nick the yellow coat underneath. She stayed perfectly still in her concentration and was grateful that her model was doing the same. Rarity? The quiet Pegasus asked stiffly, not wanting to mess with the work the unicorn was doing. Rarity hummed in response, her mind too distracted by the slippery fabric in her magic gasp to form actual words. Rarity, love, when you have a moment, Fluttershy said. Rarity carefully pressed another pin into the dress. Yes, dear. Her words were hollow as her mind was clearly elsewhere. There's no rush, but, you do need to sit up at some point. Rarity had been hunched over to reach the mare's chest, her face only a few inches away from it, for Celestia knows how long. Just as the other had said, she became incredibly aware of the stiffness in her back. She failed to suppress a sigh and straightened out her position, bringing herself eye level with Fluttershy. Before she could complain, there were soft lips pressed against her. She melted in an instant, leaning into the touch. It took longer than it should have for her to come to her senses, but when she did, she pulled away. What was that for, darling? We've been at this for hours. I think we need a break, the quiet mare explained. Ah! Rarity glanced at the clock on the wall, looking just above her glasses. I do suppose it's a bit late. Are you hungry? Fluttershy shook her head. I ate last time you needed to take the dress off to use the sewing machine. Rarity's eyebrow furrowed. Are you tired then? Do you need anything? I'm almost done with this bit, dear, but we can stop if you need. Her voice dripped with concern. Fluttershy smiled at her, eyes wide as if Rarity had just said something foolish. Rarity, you haven't eaten dinner, she stated, and your lunch was half a leftover cupcake. Oh, Rarity mumbled. Well, I just have... Her words were taken by another kiss, cursing the fact that she was standing so close to her mare friend, though she didn't really have any intention to move away yet. Fluttershy broke this kiss after a warm moment. You said that earlier. You didn't let me finish. How would you know what I would say? Rarity pointed out. Fluttershy just rolled her eyes fondly. Because not only did you say it earlier, but yesterday and the day before, and every time you've been engrossed in a project for as long as I've known you. I just have to finish this bit and then I'll take a break, she said with an attempt at Rarity's usual almost Canterlottian accent. Darling, she added after a moment. Rarity huffed and tried to look annoyed, but she couldn't help but smile. I do not sound like that. But you do, Fluttershy said right back, and you sound lovely, even when you're overworking yourself. But if you continue with this much longer... An uncharacteristically sly grin made its way onto Fluttershy's lips. I am going to have to silence you. Oh, and Rarity laughed. She wasn't sure if she ever saw the kind mare so bold. And how do you plan to... She was cut off by another kiss. This one lasted longer and involved Fluttershy humming into Rarity's mouth before pulling away. Rarity was dazed by the taste of the other's lips. I see. Yes, that makes sense. Fluttershy giggled at that, and Rarity all but swooned at the sound. She took a step back to look at her love in the unfinished dress. It was coming along nicely, a pink base with green accents. A few bits of golden shimmering fabric that somewhat matched the yellow mare's coat. That's lovely and all, but I do... She took another step back to dodge the other's incoming kiss. I do need to finish this bit and then I'll take a break, she promised, seeing the doubtful expression on Fluttershy's face. She scoffed. I really mean it, darling. Fine, Fluttershy hummed, allowing Rarity to step closer again without the threat of distracting affection. But don't make me use the stare. I won't, my dear, I promise, Rarity hummed, returning to the matter at hoof. There was another few minutes of silent work, a pin lifted from its place in the pincushion, raised to the green fabric and then delicately pressed into place, attaching it to the pink fabric underneath, and then another and another. She found herself soon fixing and adjusting the other pins into a proper place, zoning out from the world and only thinking of the task in front of her once again. "Rarity?" "Yes, darling, I'm almost done." She'd leaned back to look at Fluttershy, which she should have realised sooner would be a mistake. Not that she could really call the kiss a mistake in any meaningful sense of the word. "I think you're done now." Fluttershy barely leaned back, her breath on Rarity's lips as she spoke. Rarity felt her coat heat up, flushing pink instead of its usual white. Yes, I think you're correct," she barely whispered, closing the distance between their lips once again. They stayed like that for a long moment, wanting to deepen the kiss, but instead pulling away begrudgingly. "Let's get you out of this dress," Rarity mumbled, beginning to carefully undo the pin-filled fabric, careful not to knock out any so she could stitch the green into place later. "And get you some dinner," Fluttershy stated. If she heard Rarity's disappointed grumble, she said nothing. "Yes, love," Rarity eventually said with a sigh. Helping Fluttershy slip out of the attire, she laid it out near the sewing machine and turned, once again finding a muzzle against her own. Rarity smiled, kissing the mare in front of her. Fluttershy stepped closer, pressing their chests to each other now that there was no delicate art project restricting her movement. She brought a yellow hoof to push Rarity's red glasses to sit behind her horn. She then lowered the hoof to the unicorn's cheek, holding her in place and kissing her like she was the only thing that mattered. But then she pulled away and Rarity couldn't stop the desperate whine that left her. Fluttershy giggled at that, and really, how could Rarity be mad after hearing that wonderful sound? Fluttershy hummed, releasing her hold of the other's cheek. "I'm going to make you a daisy sandwich, come on." Rarity would have complained and pulled Fluttershy into an embrace, holding her and kissing her until they both were out of breath, but she could feel her own hunger eating away at her, so she instead followed her marefriend into the kitchen. "A daisy sandwich sounds lovely, darling," she conceded.